What's up, spilled milkers? Sorry, I was just getting my tookus comfy in the chair. Not in a hotel room, but funny, wearing the exact same t-shirt that I wore the last time. My best friend is Filipino. My buddy Nicole Ponseca sent me that shirt. I think I said that before. It's cool. Wow, this is a big week on Ask Me Anything. Things got a little personal, a little touchy, and there's some serious subjects here. So buckle the fuck up and get ready for a little bit of a ride. My editor sent this question. Hey, do you want to say something to the Instagram commenters who poo-pooed your Walmart video? Their general sentiment is people shouldn't shop at Walmart and frozen food isn't good. A lot of people made compliments about my sweater. Yes, it's a very thick Burberry cashmere sweater. And yes, I'm very happy that I own it. And B, I don't feel guilty about that at all. His observation was that many of the reactions of people who were poo-pooing my frozen food line at Walmart were knee-jerk. And let me just explain my position on this. I believe that we are enduring a global and national crisis when it comes to our food systems. And so if looking at the frozen food options in supermarkets for the last 20 years have inspired me to make something better, then so be it. That's what I did. You can complain all you want about Walmart. You can complain all you want about frozen food, but until you actually do something about it, sort of make it a little better, even incrementally better, then you're just, throwing pot shots from the sidelines. And if that's what society has become, well, I think in many ways it has. Just look at Twitter. Then I think we have a lot of work to do. But let me restate very briefly, so I don't bore everyone, what the deal is. I created 4 comfort food classics for Walmart. I encourage you to go try them. They're $5.99 each, and I'm really proud of all of them. I think they taste really good. For the most part, they are made from high quality natural ingredients. Are there some stabilizers and other things in there? Of course there are. Did we have to cut some corners on certain sizes and weights to make $5.99 the price barrier? Of course we did. Is the meat quality really, really good? You're darn right it is. Are the veg in there real? The peas with the mashed potatoes? Yep. Are the mashed potatoes real? Yep. Is the meatloaf made from really good ground? Yep. I actually have them send me that meatloaf all the time so I can keep testing batch after batch after batch to make sure that the quality is right. I'm so proud of all 4 of those comfort food classics. Can't even begin to tell you. They're great. So go check them out and think about this. I wanted to make something that tasted good, priced right, super convenient, i.e. microwave and a disposable, recyclable container. And we did that. And I'm really proud of it because there's a lot of working families and non-working families who need to put a meal in front of a family member that doesn't cost a lot, that tastes good, that's hot, and it can be made quickly. There you go. Then let me skip to a less serious subject. We'll come back to the whole issue of service charges again because there's a lot of movement in that area. Denise writes, how do you keep track of all the restaurants you suggest? Do you use a spreadsheet, notes, any sort of template, notes on your phone? How do you plan for upcoming trips with all of the suggestions? Do you type out an itinerary? Do you keep a digital or hard copy calendar? I would love to have you pull back the curtain on your process and actually show us your organizational tools. Thanks for all of the great suggestions. Well, I hate to say it, but everything was done the old-fashioned way. It was all on paper. Then I transferred everything into files on my computer. So I actually have one on my computer called City Guides, and I keep eliminating ones and putting others in so that as I travel places, and some of those city guides only have 1 or 2 spots, right? If I've just been for a day or two and only got to 1 meal. But I like to build them out. I like to keep them fresh by travel. I travel a lot. Tuesday, I leave for Kentucky. I'll spend a couple days in Lexington, explore some, of that city's great. I mean, they have a lot of good mutton and lamb barbecue up there. I'm pretty excited about it. Then I'm going to go to the Nassau Paradise Island Wine and Food Festival. So I'll check out some new restaurants there. I happen to love Mackenzie's under the Causeway Bridge. Cracked conch salad and, good fish sandwiches. Then I will be going to Atlanta for a day to attend the Giving Kitchen's big annual gala, Team Heidi, which is being held at Truist Park where the Braves play. I hope you come. And then I come home for a day, and then I'm off, I think, to Pebble Beach Wine and Food, check out some cool restaurants around there. So as I travel, I just sort of gather all this stuff up. So that's number 1. Number 2, yes, the old-fashioned way I do that. But it's funny that you asked, Denise, because I'm kind of modernizing. I have someone who is going to help me put all of my suggestions onto a Google Maps thing, where sort of like I'll have a map of the world and be able to put it all in there. And then I will be able to share it with people a little more easily, city by city, country by country, continent by continent, maybe the whole thing someday. So that's number 2. Number 3, I looked at a lot of different programs and I loaded something on my laptop called Evernote. Apparently I'm the last person in the world to know about this, but Evernote can take a lot of that kind of stuff, including pictures and other things, and assign them into different bins, basically. So it's easier for me to stay organized. So I wish I had more to tell you. I guess the old-fashioned way finally just became too cumbersome for me. And so I'm switching over to an interactive Google Maps that I'm going to start using for myself and be able to load locations onto there really easily, and Evernote. Now, as far as notes on my phone and stuff, yeah, I use photographs on my phone all the time, and then I have to transfer the info from there, a shot of a menu, a picture on a street sign, stuff like that. So I will be walking down the street, Houston Street in New York City, and I'll be at Laboratorio Gelateria, and oh yeah, crap, I don't have that, but I eat there all the time. Click, click, and then I'll slide it on it. Rich wants to know what makes a po' boy sandwich a po' boy sandwich. They say, and by the way, the history of colloquialisms and nicknames is sometimes really simple to research, and sometimes it's a little trickier. But the general wisdom is that the sandwiches were made by sandwich makers, and then they were given to young kids. This is, 100 years ago, more than that, during the Depression. And they would take them to work sites in New Orleans where people were building things or looking for jobs or anywhere people were gathering, and they would sell these very inexpensive meals on a piece of bread. And it was named after the young kids who were selling them, who were poor boys. Basically they would, get a penny or a couple pennies for every sandwich that they sold. And that was how they earned some money. So you would get a sandwich from a po' boy, and then the sandwiches became known as po' boys. Missy writes, Eater's article about Delmonico's got me wondering, what are some other American restaurants that have heavily influenced how we eat? What a great question. We'll put the link to the Delmonico's article in here on Eater. Delmonico's was one of those restaurants, one of the oldest the oldest operating restaurant in America, I think. But so many great classic foods were actually invented there by a generation, or well, actually a couple generations of chefs who sort of, popularized dishes that then swept the nation, much in the same way that peach Melba was invented in a restaurant in San Francisco and named after an opera singer, right, who dined there that night. Delmonico's has been, around for almost 200 years. And there are a lot of restaurants, and because you asked, I made a short list. I mean, just to give you an idea of this kind of stuff. I guess the premise here behind the question is to understand how we eat is to understand how we live, and to understand how we eat and live helps inform who we are, right? And in that case, restaurants, if they change habits nationally, become a bigger part of our culture. Mama Leone's in the Theater District, a restaurant that integrated ethnic food, in this case Italian and American food, into Italian-American food and pushed it into the mainstream. The same thing with the Mandarin in San Francisco, which elevated Chinese food beyond chop suey for the first time. Sylvia's in Harlem, Antoine's and Galatoire's in New Orleans, which pioneered that the influence of regional cuisines. Highbrow stuff. And highbrow stuff, by the way, ends up floating down into the mainstream, right? Restaurants like Le Pavillon and Four Seasons in New York that were just, the powerhouse place, the 21 Club, places that were so popular for so long amongst the elites, and then restaurants copied themselves after those places for everyone, because restaurants are the ultimate egalitarian experience. You could say the same thing about Chez Panisse in Berkeley. I don't know if they were actually the first farm-to-table restaurant, but they were the first popular farm-to-table restaurant, and it's the first one that became popular enough to have a national reputation. And look at all the great chefs that came out of there. But more importantly, Alice Waters changed the way we thought about food in America and in relation to where it's grown. So think about that. I mean, that's a big one. And I think anyone watching this can remember that, right? And is aware of that, where some of these older examples, maybe not aware of. Schrafft's. My grandmother lived on like 63rd and Madison for a long time. We used to walk over to 63rd and Lexington, or 63rd and 3rd, I forget where it was, and Schrafft's, that was one of their locations, was there. And we would eat there once a week together. Tuna fish sandwich on toast, chicken salad on toast, incredible ice cream in those glass coupes. I loved going with my grandmother, my mother's mother, to Schrafft's. My mother's mother was not a pleasant woman, but interesting. We always could enjoy ourselves at Schrafft's. But Schrafft's was really important. The reason my grandmother went there is that she was a widow and moved to New York from Pittsburgh after her husband died. And Schrafft's was the first restaurant in New York City that catered to women who were alone. There was a time, just last weekend, we're National Women's Month and National Women's Day was Friday or Saturday. But there was a time where women couldn't dine alone in restaurants, not because they were, it just wasn't done. A lady didn't dine alone in a restaurant. And Schrafft's made it popular. And, Howard Johnson's is a good one, because Howard Johnson's is the one that kickstarted the fast food industry, the highway food industry, the fast casual industry. We would not have, these massive chains that do fast casual like Fridays if it wasn't for Howard Johnson's. And do you know who was the corporate chef for Howard Johnson's for years and years and years and years? My mentor, Jacques Pepin. That's how I met him, was my dad was doing advertising for Howard Johnson's, and I got to meet Jacques when I was a young man. I think that gives you a good idea. Jen writes, you sometimes say to use a really, really good soy sauce. Can you provide suggestions for a really, really good soy sauce? Well, the reason I do is that supermarket soy sauces have lots of things on their label like caramel colorings and flavorings and salt, where they use a lot of ingredients to make fake soy sauce as opposed to fermenting wheat, soybeans, combinations thereof, just one, and actually making soy sauce by brewing it. Fermenting those beans, making the koji, and then brewing it from there. Now, why naturally brewed soy sauce, and there are many, many kinds, when you reduce it in flavor, when you reduce anything in flavor, wine, soy sauce, you highlight the good qualities. Sometimes that flavor changes and makes an even better quality, but you also highlight the flaws. So sometimes people wonder, well, why, if I'm making 3-cup chicken, classic Cantonese dish, that sweet glazed chickeny thing, you can go on my website, we have some good versions of it. Why does it taste bitter or off? Well, it's because one of your ingredients, when it's reduced, created bitter and off flavors, most likely the soy sauce. So I buy my soy sauce online. Sometimes I'll buy a jug of Yamasa, a good quality Yamasa soy sauce, naturally brewed one, which is a Japanese supermarket. They make a very, very good one, but they make like 10. I don't buy the low sodium one. I just buy the standard Yamasa, and I use that for sort of all-purpose cooking when I need like a cup of soy sauce, because some of the other soy sauces I use are kind of expensive, and I put those in things where I need a couple tablespoons in a stir fry or in a dumpling mixture, or to season a soup or something like that. So the good quality, you want a naturally brewed soy sauce from Yamasa, to me is kind of where I start. I always have a jug of that in the fridge. I always talk about these two places. Mala Market. They are an online supplier of Chinese goods from Sichuan province. Sichuan province is the breadbasket of China, a huge agricultural area, hence a lot of beans and rice, hence a lot of great soy sauces and vinegars, by the way. And then there's a place called thejapanesepantry.com, and I get a lot of their soy sauces. Now, their soy sauces change. They oftentimes are getting them in small batches from one producer, and then that producer, for whatever reason, can't export, and they find another producer. The owners of that company, just like Mala Market, travel a lot to the place that they're bringing things in from. So some of the products change, but on Mala Market, Sichuan soy sauces, there's a company called Zhongba, Zhongba. They have a handcrafted 1-year-old soy sauce that's stunning. That's the one I use most often when I don't need a cup for a big braising recipe. They also have a dark soy that has sugar in it, and mushrooms are used in the ferment, and it's got it's thicker, and I use that in a lot of wok cooking where you don't want to add water or something thin, but you want that soy sauce flavor, and I need to add a little less. Then from Japanese Pantry, there's a maker called Yugeta, Yugeta, and he has both a standard brewed soy sauce and a double brewed soy sauce, which is not saltier, it's just earthier and richer and just great for dipping things into. Like if I make shabu shabu, or if I'm making some kind of sushi roll here at the house, or anything that you would dip, or if you're making dumplings, you want to make a dumpling sauce, or gyoza. I love the Yugeta double brewed, Yugeta. And then there is usakuchi, which is a light Japanese soy sauce that's used primarily in cooking. And there's a company called Suehiro, Suehiro, that makes a great usakuchi. It's light. Some people actually like to cook with it. Some people will take a tablespoon of it and just pour it over their scrambled eggs in the morning with chili crisp, like me. But Suehiro now makes an usakuchi that they've added fermented rice and soybeans to, koji, and it's deeper, it's stronger, and it's really great. And I also experiment. I'll buy naturally brewed soy sauces when people recommend them to me, or, Momofuku, David Chang's company, has a great naturally brewed soy sauce. It's expensive. It comes in little bottles, but it's a beautiful, beautiful soy sauce. So yeah, look around. Just get a naturally brewed one and start experimenting with it. Hannah writes, help. We just got a lot of Kohlrabi from our CSA. What should we do with it? Now, Kohlrabi doesn't look like the most beautiful or, gorgeous vegetable, right? It's not like an asparagus spear, but it's nutrient dense. It's very subtle and tasty, and it's worth adding as a vegetable to stews, curries, soups, pickles. Shave it thin into salads. My friend Chris Cosentino took kohlrabi, shaved it paper thin on a mandolin, and mixed it with a Caesar salad dressing, and just kohlrabi was amazing. But kohlrabi, especially the young ones in the spring, you can eat the stems and the leaves and saute them. Some people eat kohlrabi just eating it. But you can bake it, roast it, saute it. Like I said, put it in any soups and stews. It is just so versatile. So yeah, you can do a lot of different things with it. Hopefully that gives you some ideas to get rid of that CSA thing. Okay. Preeti writes, Andrew, have you heard about the destination dupes trend? I sure have. Basically what that is London is really expensive. So instead go to a duplicate or dupe destination. Go to Liverpool, right? That's the idea. Where you can have a great historical experience, restaurants, culture, but you're not doing it in London. You're probably saving 30-40%. I have to be honest, most of the time I'd rather just travel cheaply to the destination I want to go to. And I understand that places like Reykjavik in Iceland or Copenhagen are really expensive. And you can get that great Scandinavian experience by going to Helsinki. So Helsinki would be a destination dupe, right? Where it's not as expensive. You can have a really great time. And by the way, if you go during the summertime, Finland is a must. And you can go all the way up to Lapland and actually then take the night train to Helsinki all the way back down. Some of the places that I like to go that I just think are cheaper in general than, let's say, London would be Edinburgh or Dublin, where you can have a similar type of experience. Lisbon is still a great deal, but people don't explore places like Porto, just a few hours away. It's a beautiful city. If you're looking for a wild, tropical vacation, it's always going to cost money to get there. I'm talking about like Fiji, Samoa, that kind of thing. But once you get there, if you want something that's really inexpensive that will just blow your mind, one of my favorite places in the whole world is Palawan in the Philippines. My best friend's Filipino. I love the Philippines. So you might want to try that. Instead of doing Rome and Florence, go to Sicily, right? Some big news about Sicily coming up. Stay tuned to these pages. Joe writes, Chef, some time ago during the holidays, you were giving a reassuring and inspirational pep talk for those who were not able to be with family, did not have family, or those that felt othered. I'll always admire your openness about your past struggles and willingness to share stories about your recovery and what a genuine person you are. Thank you, Joe. Ever since then, I've always wondered if you've ever felt othered or feel othered. Sure, all the time. A lot. Sometimes it's in my own head. I feel like I don't belong, or I compare how I feel inside on that given day to how other people look on the outside, and I just don't think I have it. And so I other myself that way. But yes, I've been othered in the last couple of years for being Jewish. I sometimes don't get invited to certain things because I don't drink, which is fine with me. But people just assume because I'm a sober person that I don't want to go to a party. I'm othered in some ways because I'm an old white man. By the way, sometimes I'm okay. I'm one of those old white men that's okay to pull up people of color, women, and say, how about this person instead of me? And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying that, I'm more into the allyship aspect of life than I am into gathering things for myself. I've been very lucky in my life, and I do feel that I've been gifted privileges because I'm a white man, and that I can do certain things in my life to help others. But yes, I have felt othered. Now, I've felt othered a lot, mostly based on horrific behaviors and activities of my own when I was an active addict and alcoholic. So yeah, that's a bunch. I mean, probably the most I feel othered is as a Jew. Oh, I've felt othered as a left-wing progressive as well. I try not to bring my politics into things, but I am definitely a left-wing progressive, and it's I'm hoping that if you're not, that you stay with me here on this journey. I want to learn from you. I hope you want to learn from me. I mean, that's the way we all get along. But yeah, I felt othered that way for sure. Okay. Scrolling back to the other big issue of the day. You know what? We're almost at the half-hour mark. There was a great article in the New York Times about restaurants in Washington, D.C. after the city began to phase out the tip minimum wage. And I will save that for an AMA later in the week. Speak to you all later. Have a great start to your week.